Damen und Herren, bitte begrüßen Sie aus Lettland, Anastasija Sevastova. Und aus Tschechien, Petra, Kvitova.
A very good afternoon and welcome to quarter-finals day in Stuttgart, and what a day it promises to be. 8 players remain from a star-studded main draw. Half of them are currently in the top 10, 6 of them are seeded, and the lowest ranked player left in the tournament is a former world #1. We start the day though with Anastasija Sevastova and Petra Kvitova, who meet for the first time in almost 8 years and for the first time ever on a clay court. Sevastova hoping to reach a semi-final for the first time in 2019 and hoping to go one better than her last appearance here in Stuttgart 2 years ago, where she was beaten by Simona Halep in the last 8. Kvitova is a 2-time semi-finalist here and unsurprisingly has been one of the top performers on the WTA circuit again this season. The champion in Sydney and the runner-up, of course, at the Australian Open and in Dubai. 4 terrific matches to come today. Make sure you don't miss a single minute of it. Well, once we get underway here, we have 2 quarterfinals in the afternoon session. This match will be followed by Naomi Osaka and Donna Vekic. The battle for the top spot in the world was on the agenda at the start of the week. Osaka has secured that for the time being at least. So both her and Kvitova focusing on trying to claim the title. Kvitova, though, with a tough test here against the 7th seed from Latvia.
Ladies, do you have any question? No? Okay, we take a picture with the girls. Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Do you want to pick heads or tails? Heads? Heads.
I say.
Okay, have a good one.
So here we are then on quarterfinals day. First of 4 matches to come here on centre court at the Porsche Arena in Stuttgart. Anastasija Sevastova, the 7th seed and world #13 from Latvia, up against the world #3 and the 3rd seed, Petra Kvitova from the Czech Republic. So a big challenge ahead for both players. Whatever the match today, the outcome very much uncertain. Such quality in the main draw. And the winner of this contest will face the winner of the battle between the 5th and 6th seed, Angelique Kerber, who beat Andrea Petkovic yesterday, and Kiki Bertens, who's been in excellent form as well. She hit 20 aces in her 2nd round match. Well, alongside me today is Steph Dubois. Steph, very good afternoon, and it should be a great day. And this match is, well, on paper, it looks a tricky one for Sevastova because Kvitova is just so good on every single surface.
Well, you just said it. I think, yeah, Kvitova, she competes well, and she also adapts to every surface she plays in. And even though she's an aggressive player, likes to dictate, she's also very consistent, even though she's an aggressive player, Kvitova. But it'll be a good battle, I think, here also for Sevastova. I think she'll try to vary a little bit to destabilize Kvitova today.
Yeah, Sevastova, the world #13, a career high ranking of 11, 3 career titles. 2 of those titles have come on the clay courts, one of them in Bucharest just last year. She's had a bit of an up and down start to the season. Not the most amazing results so far. She did make the quarterfinals in Brisbane and also made the 4th round at the Australian Open. Both of those matches, incidentally, she ended up losing to Naomi Osaka. So she's had some good performances. 4 times this year, though, she's been knocked out in the 1st round, but she's beaten the former French Open champion this week and the former champion here in Laura Siegemund. Ostapenko, of course, her opponent in the 1st round. So she's coming into this match with some good form.
Well, yes, and you can see she did semi-final at the US Open last year, so it's a great result. So she can beat those players. She has a few wins against a top 5 player. We can see And I think she has also, she's a competitive player, Sevastova, and she has variation. So she slices, she likes to dominate with her forehand, and yeah, it's great to see her do that well and steadily go up the ranking.
Well, certainly the biggest test so far of the week, because Petra Kvitova again has been one of the best performers on the circuit. 3 finals already. Unusual for her to lose a final. Up until the Australian Open, she'd won 8 finals in a row, but been in great form once again. Over 20 victories just this year in main draw matches, and 26 titles. She's won 5 on clay. Never won a clay court tournament indoors before. She's been in a final once in Katowice, so this would be a new achievement, and there aren't many of those left for her to achieve.
Yeah, well, we always think it's important to be consistent, and I know it sounds simple, but to do what she's doing, Kvitova, to every week in the final and beat all those players every week and every week out, it's just amazing, and it shows how amazing competitor she is, also after what happened to her in the past. And I think she found joy, almost more joy after, you know, when you have adversity. And talking about adversity, Sevastova also had some. She almost stopped to play tennis. She went back to the study and came back and play. She's playing even better than before. So it shows how determination with those players, it's so important.
Yeah, certainly both have had interruptions to their career, and as you say, they've come back even better. Sevastova with a career-high ranking after she came back, and she's won titles since she come back, reached more finals as well. She's certainly had a really good couple of years. Last year, as you mentioned, the run at the US Open, which was so impressive. She also got to her first Premier Mandatory final in Beijing, and you know, finds herself comfortably inside the world's top 20 at a time when there are so many good players around and so many young players. And in relative terms, she's one of the more experienced ones, and she will be a tough opponent for Kvitova today.
Yeah, the depth is amazing, you just said. There's so many good players every week, and yeah, she's learned a lot from the past. You can see her coach here, Ronald Schmidt. They've been working together for a long time. It's really working well.
Yeah, it certainly is. 2 titles on clay, as I mentioned. Bucharest last year, the most recent one. But a real test today against Petra Kvitova. I mean, her record is just astonishing. 26 titles. And one of the most popular players with fans, I think with other players as well. She's won a number of sportsmanship awards. And the only thing perhaps left for her to achieve is that world #1 ranking. She did have a chance this week, but she needed Osaka to lose in the first, or in the second round rather, her first match of the tournament. That didn't happen. Osaka won yesterday, so that is on the back burner for now, so she could just focus on trying to win here in Stuttgart for the very first time. But as you mentioned, the quality of the draw here in Stuttgart is quite astonishing. Still 6 seeds left in the main draw, and 2 of them going head-to-head here in this quarter-final. Sevastova, the 7th seed and world number 13. And Kvitova, the world number 3. And the 3rd seed as well. So we're almost ready to get underway. First of 4 quarterfinals today. Naomi Osaka and Donna Vekic will be the 2nd quarterfinal in this afternoon session. And then this evening, Kiki Bertens plays Angelique Kerber. The winner of that one will play the winner of this match. And we end the day with Victoria Azarenka, the lowest ranked player left in the tournament. Beat Karolina Pliskova yesterday, incredibly. She was playing Fed Cup in Australia a few days ago. Incredible performance from her. She takes on Annette Kontaveit. So a brilliant day of tennis ahead. And it's just about to get underway. Kvitova will serve first in the opening set.
Play. No 14. Love 15.
Kvitova getting the better of Grit Minnen, the qualifier, in the second round. Obviously, as the 3rd seed, she got a first round bye. That victory, her 80th on clay in her career.
15.
Another demonstration of just how good she is on pretty much every single surface. 5 titles in 2018. 3 different surfaces as well. 2 clay court titles last year.
You can see how Kvitova likes to dominate the point as soon as she can. With a big serve, she tries to put pressure on Sevastova. She missed, but that's her game style.
Both players just feeling their way in here. A few of the players said this week that Stuttgart, because it's indoors, the clay court is not slippery, but it's tougher to slide normally because it's faster a little bit. So we can see a bit Kvitova, her footwork on that last forehand was not really there. First break point. Superb from Petra.
One thing I was going to say about Sevastova, she has to try to destabilize Kvitova by doing some angles, but she has to be careful on that last forehand. Kvitova, she loves, and she can really go hard down the line when she's far away. It's very dangerous.
Fourth time, Sevastova.
It's another chance for the Latvian. Second break point. And it is long from Kvitova, so the early break for the Latvian, that's the perfect start.
One of the things Sevastova does do really well is she's consistent, she builds her point, she waits for the right ball to attack. Even though Kvitova did a few unforced errors in this game, she's a tough player to play against. Make you work hard for your points.
That is the perfect start. And she'll be looking to back it up here. Serving for the first time in the match.
Fontino, 15 love. Treize knol, 30 love.
find a rhythm at the moment, Kvitova. Going for a lot very early in the point. That's her game style, but perhaps have bigger targets.
Field signal.
It is only her second match on clay this season. A bit of a break after Miami. She lost in the quarterfinals to Ash Barty. Sevastova played in Charleston. A little bit different, outdoor and green clay. Did lose in the first round there as well. But plenty of time on the court over the last few days. Good win against Ostapenko. And a straight sets victory over Sigermund, who's a former champion here. So should be pretty used to this surface by now, and it's been a good start.
Yeah, we can certainly see her. She's more comfortable at the minute. Sevastova, as you said, Kvitova, not a lot of match on clay. As you said, her second one. Trying to find a rhythm and just struggling at the moment. It happens if you start your match not as well as you want. Just have to find a way.
Well, there we go. It's never going to take her that long to get going.
15 love. Fontaine Biden. 15 all.
Kvitova did have a bit of a slow start to the clay court season in 2018. She lost in the second round in Charleston. And in the first round here in Stuttgart to Kerber. That's a pretty tough draw for a first round. Then went on to win the next tournament she played, which was in Prague, of course.
Well, it's rare that we say that, but I feel Sevastova is more in control of the rallies and the points at the minute. It's almost as she's putting a lot of pressure on Kvitova. Usually she's the one who does that all the time.
As you say, she looks very comfortable. It's so important for Sevastova to take advantage of this, though, because it is almost inevitable that Kvitova will find her rhythm and she'll get going, and then things could get difficult. But if Sevastova gets herself into a really healthy position before that happens, she's got every chance of causing a bit of an upset.
As you mentioned, when you have those little opportunities like Sevastova, she missed that return, and you think, oh, that's important because, you know, Kvitova, she's been number 2 in the world, number 3 currently. That's why that's their ranking, because they just use these little opportunities.
And we've seen a very uncharacteristic start from Petra Kvitova, and Sevastova taking full advantage as things stand. Double break up in the opening set. It's a dream start for the Latvian. She leads by 3 games to love. A dream start for the Latvian. Can she build on this? Double break up in the opening set. 3-love lead.
For serve.
So it was in.
No 14.
Just notice a little bit. Kvitova's footwork is not as controlled as Sevastova. You know, Sevastova has 3 hours more on the court in this tournament than Kvitova. Well, 2 hours.
17 back.
Sometime in this kind of condition, it makes a difference. And she doesn't come from the qualies, the Latvian, but she has more matches and more hours on the court, so you get used to the surface much better.
Getting a bit closer.
14.
Still not quite happening.
15.
But if you should have did that backhand return, big target in the middle, as hard as she did, Sevastova would have had a lot of pressure, and I'm not sure if it...
Oh, glorious touch from Sevastova.
Field 14.
Playing with a real confidence here.
40-15.
Well, we said it would be good for her to have a lot of variation in her game. Sevastova against Kvitova today. Yuzengo, bit of slice.
Just breezing through this opening set. Another good hold.
Sevastova field.
First 4 games all go the way of the Latvian.
4 games to love.
Petra Kvitova, 2 winners, 11 unforced errors so far. It's just so unlike her. The first ace.
15 love.
She won't panic. Keep working on the game plan.
Got lucky there a little bit, Sevastova.
35.
She was ready because we saw she was really looking to read where Kvitova was going to smash, but it was too hard for her. Kvitova, when she has that big first serve in, she takes control of the point straight away. It's much easier, and since the beginning of this match, she struggled a little bit. We can see in the stat the first serve percentage is as high as usually.
That one was out.
Field save 40-15.
We go again, see with the unforced error count here, 12-2. Sevastova's made such a solid start. But that's better. Hit a few winners in that game and is off the mark with a very convincing hold. And the number 3 seed up and running at last in this quarter-final, which is a double breakdown. It's 4-1. An improvement from the Czech in that last game, a good hold. Sevastova still very much in control. Double break up in this first set.
Again, another unforced error from the Czech. Still isn't very comfortable at the minute. When you feel like that, just go back to the basic, big target. Because it's indoors, it's a bit faster than the usual clay court outside.
And as you mentioned, the power that she does have, she'll give Sevastova problems even if she does go for those big targets and those percentage shots.
She does that pretty well, Kvitova, on the drop shot slice cross court when she sees her opponent quite far from the baseline.
Field save 40-15.
Sevastova playing such a solid game at the moment, though, giving nothing away.
Left service. Field save classic.
Much better return there.
40-13.
We could see Sevastova had trouble just to hit it back because it was deep. A lot of speed on it, a lot of power. Sometimes you have to go back to the basic.
Wow.
Einstein.
Nothing basic about that return.
I was trying to search for a good word. Everything was good about her return there. The angle, But it was not like over return. It was just controlled, and that's what I liked about the last one.
That's a good response.
Sevastova.
She really redirects the ball well, the Latvian. She saw that little window on that down the line.
It's nicely done. Another really impressive hold.
She's really using the court really well today, making sure Kvitova is not in the middle, in the center, because she likes to dictate, using a lot of angle and using the court. Very in control at the minute.
Kvitova serving to stay in the set after 23 minutes. Doesn't happen very often.
Emphasis.
Second ace for Petra Kvitova. First serve percentage is starting to creep up a bit.
That's a big difference when she gets those good first serve. Really jump into the ball as soon as she can. Gets into control of the point, and that's why she's #3 in the world. She does it so well when she's playing well. At the minute, just struggling a bit, so that first serve is very important for her.
Made it. Love service game from Petra Kvitova. And the signs of recovery are there. It might be too late for the first set because Sevastova will serve for it at 5-2.
Sevastova führt 5-2. 5-2.
So an outstanding performance so far from the 7th seed, now serving for the set.
Fantino. 15 love.
You hit as hard, but bigger targets, like little things that will make a little difference.
She may have to come up with another plan for the second set, because Sevastova is a point away from winning the first here inside half an hour. And fabulous return. We've seen little glimpses of the real Petra Kvitova, particularly in the last few games.
40-15.
Yeah, said the right word. The real Kvitova, she does that every point. Great returner. But today, yes, she needs to have bigger target.
That is a pretty special first set from Sevastova. Just cruising through it in the end. Less than half an hour required to get the job done. She is a step closer to her first ever semi-final here in Stuttgart. 6-2 in the opening set. Sevastova.
Zweiter Satz, Aufschlag, Kvitova.
Virtually flawless display from the Latvian in that opener. Can she keep it up? And will we see more of the real Kvitova in this second set?
That's a good start. Good first point from her. So I like to see a bit more ball in the court, bigger target, and when she has the ball, be as aggressive as she wants, but being clever about it.
And this is what we come to expect.
30 love.
Yeah, I feel that first game for Sevastova is going to be very important. Played a really good first set against a top 5 player. You have to keep the same quality, and that will be the challenge for the Latvian. And it happens. You can have a bad start of a match, bad first set, but the best in the world find ways to switch the momentum.
Well, a hold at the start of the second set here for Kvitova, something she failed to do in the first. She was broken in her first 2 service games. Did improve towards the end of that second set, but it was too late because Sevastova just barely made any mistakes, and well, those stats back it up, don't they?
Well, yeah, you said, yeah, just 2 on 4 serves against 14 for Kvitova, which is very unlike her. And also hasn't been serving as well. Kvitova 65%. It's not bad, but her game style really rely on being having a good first serve, taking advantage of the point as soon as she can, and she struggled in that first set.
Well, a few ominous signs for Sevastova, because already in the early exchanges here, Kvitova is looking much more like her old self.
15.
Something also I like about the Czech is, even it was not a great first set for her, she was not too negative. She kind of almost analyzed, okay, it's not going well, come back and start that second set differently. But some players could have also been really negative, and that's when it's dangerous. She's quite stable in her emotion.
Well, she's been in tougher challenges than this before and come through them. She won't panic.
30-15.
And as you were saying, so much of what happens next depends on Sevastova and whether she can keep up this level. You feel as though she's going to have to.
Feel safe, 14.
Well, by serving this way, will certainly help her. Kvitova is one of the best returner on the tour.
Wow. 2 aces in that game. Quickly levels it up. No drop-off at all from Sevastova so far. Second serve ace as well.
Yeah, that was a great point and great game from Sevastova to keep fighting and not kind of let that momentum away, because I felt the first 2 points of that last game could have been very different outcome. Maybe had given Kvitova a big momentum, but no, she did fight really well.
No fancy.
Stunning return as well.
She's playing without hesitation at the moment. Very clear what she wants to do.
Well, 3 aces now for Kvitova in the match.
30-14. 30-15.
Some good depth in the last ground stroke from Kvitova here. You can see Sevastova struggle a little bit. If the Czech can get those type of ball every time, with a lot of pressure on the Latvian.
Field save 40. 40-15.
Very impressive from Kvitova, much better. She's made a good start to the second set. No breakthrough yet, it is 2 games to 1.
2 games to 1. Time.
It was a good first service game from Sevastova at the start of this second set. One of the most impressive stats at the moment is the second serve. She's won 8 points out of 8 on her second serve so far.
0-14. Love 15.
Stunning return.
Talking about her second serve, she's doing really well, but I think that
13.
last one was just at the right height for Kvitova's forehand return.
We did see in the first set Sevastova go to her forehand side quite a lot. And it worked pretty well, but as you say, that was just perfect for Kvitova.
13-13. 15-13.
Just have to make sure Sevastova keeps making the Czech run outside of the court, using angle a little bit, a slice once in a while.
30 beide.
Because I feel right now Kvitova is getting much more rhythm. Getting more comfortable also.
Fiancé, 3-6.
That's very gutsy from Sevastova using that
40-30.
forehand drop shot like this. As I said, I think changing the rhythm is a good option for her. But she was quite far away on that baseline.
Spiel, Sevastova.
That's another hold. Still looking very comfortable.
2 games over.
The longer this set goes on, the closer she gets to that victory, that's when things will start to really tell. The pressure will start to mount.
I keep thinking, oh, it's a very important game from Sevastova in the view of not giving the momentum to Kvitova. But she's been really fighting well the last few games to not let that happen, the Latvian. Playing against top 5. The nerves sometimes get the more out of you, but she's quite focused and playing in the present.
And that last service game is the first time she's been anywhere near being in trouble. Love 30 down already, you think. It's a bit tricky, but calm as anything. 4 points in a row. No problem.
Signal, 30 love.
It's also going to be important for Sevastova to put some pressure on Kvitova when she's serving. She doesn't want the Czech to have these easy service games because that will only give her confidence, and as you say, it'll just start to make that momentum switch ever so slightly.
Dreißig 15. 30-15. Letter service. Fiancé 14.
Outstanding serve.
And that wide serve half court with that lefty serve is dangerous on any surface. Even though you know she's going to go there, there's nothing really you can do about it except moving yourself more on the left, on the return, your placement.
Fiancé 40-13.
Just those unforced errors mounting from Kvitova. She usually doesn't miss those type of attack. It was not a difficult shot to do. She's just struggling at times with her rhythm.
That's another double fault. It's 2 in the game.
I quite like, even though it was a fault from Kvitova, Sevastova was ready for that wide serve, because she knows it's her best serve. So it shows how Sevastova is very focused and she's thinking clearly at the moment. Great first serve. Was pretty much in control of that last attack. That's how she plays the Czech.
Yeah, it's a good hold. A bit of a test there for Kvitova, but she has looked more comfortable in the second set so far. She's still waiting for the breakthrough. It is 3 games to 2.
3 games to 2. No 14. Love 15.
Well, in her last service game, Sevastova went love 30 down. Managed to come through that pretty comfortably. But you do feel at some point in this set she's going to come up against a bit of a challenge, a really big challenge, and that could be the big difference. And that challenge is now.
No 14.
Yeah, it's funny, we sensed it. 2 really shot that she missed early in the points. Sevastova down 2-3 in the second, playing against a top 5 player, number 3 in the world. You really have to keep the same quality because they take advantage of these moments.
Just like that. And as you say, that's why she's number 3 in the world. Any hint of an opening, and all of a sudden, she's 4-2 up in the second set, and the match has a completely different feel. And she's still a long way behind. She's got to make sure she wins this set. And Sevastova's still playing really well. She's not done a lot wrong. But that's just how tough it is. You mentioned it before, Kvitova's calmness, never ever any hint of any kind of frustration. She's kept going, kept sticking to her plan. It's now starting to come to fruition.
It's very annoying for the opponent, seeing her very calm like this, as you said, and now playing much better. Puts the pressure on you, even though you won that first set. She's way too calm.
And she must just be feeling as though it's completely unfair. She's made 4 unforced errors in the match, and now all of a sudden Kvitova is just winning points without any effort at all. It must be infuriating.
Yeah, but as I said earlier, you don't have that ranking, number 3 in the world, and not doing that, like those little opportunities, those little windows and chance that your opponent gives you. Sevastova in the game earlier did she missed 2 early in the point, and it just gives a lot to the opponent. And the Czech at the moment is really taking advantage of it.
Backs up the break with a love service game. Kvitova's just won 10 points in a row and is 1 game away from winning this second set. 5 games to 2. Sevastova now serving to stay in this second set.
Well, now she's definitely in control of this set, the Czech, of the player we know, really taking advantage, being aggressive. But we said she was so calm, even though she lost that first set, and that's such a big asset for her, for any player. Makes you think clearer, and in those moments, it was 2-all in that second set. It can go really easily go the other way. She did fight really well, Kvitova.
I'll make that 12 points in a row for Petra Kvitova. The last time Sevastova won a point, it was 2 games all.
No, 15. Love 14.
Stunning from Kvitova. 14 straight points to go from 2-all to 6 games to 2. She wins the second set emphatically, and we are going the distance here on centre court. It is 1 set apiece.
New balls, please. Einsatz beide, 1 set.
Irgendeinen Punkt gibt es, da fangst du wieder an, auszureden und dann wird alles schlechter. So, Punkt 2, du lässt da gar keine Zeit mehr. Die Punkte gingen so schnell hintereinander und sie hat einen guten Rhythmus. Was haben wir gesagt, wenn er einen guten Rhythmus hat, die Zeit unterbrechen. Sie ist ausgegangen nach dem ersten Satz und hat deinen Rhythmus versucht zu brechen und du spielst Punkt auf Punkt. Das heißt, gib dir mehr Zeit, wenn sie gerade gut spielt. Ja? Und dann denk nicht nach, spiel Punkt auf Punkt, gib dein Bestes. Du hast einen super Satz gespielt, sie hat jetzt einen guten Satz gespielt. So. Aktiv bleiben, wenn du selber die Chance hast, mach was, trau dich. Okay? Halt die Spannung, halt die Bewegung, lass dir Zeit zwischen die Punkte, wenn die Punkte schnell laufen. Du schaffst. Ja, probier gleich am Anfang, alles was geht. Okay?
Aber jetzt 12 Punkte in Folge.
So, das ist aus.
Na, wahrscheinlich 14 oder 16. 14.
So, du kannst es durchbrechen, okay? Du gehst jetzt hin.
Wo kann ich durchbrechen? Sie returniert jetzt jeden Return-Winner.
Du gibst dir auch keine Zeit und du bist so schnell hinter Punkt auf Punkt, du lässt dir nicht einmal für den Aufschlag Zeit. Dann
Das ist nicht da.
Letzter Satz. Aufschlag. Kvitova.
Petra Kvitova on a roll at the moment.
Let for service.
And there's certainly been a bit of a drop-off from Sevastova, but you just have to give credit to Kvitova. She just started hitting winners all over the place.
No 14. Love 15.
Oh, we can see Kvitova tried to really put a lot behind that last forehand. She missed it, but I feel Sevastova is feeling the pressure. She can get really away with a ball in the middle, as she did before.
15.
And Kvitova is serving much better in the end of that second set and at the moment, which makes a huge difference in her not her game style, but in her play. When she has that big first serve in, she's ready to go in the other way, being very aggressive, stepping into the court.
15.
She's picked up a couple of points here, which is the main thing really after losing 14 points in a row at the end of that second set. She's given herself something to build on.
It's nice to see also a good reaction from Kvitova. We said she was so calm in that first set. She could have been very negative, but really playing better and better during this match and being positive like this. Surprise.
13.
That's backhand. I thought she would have stepped in and take advantage of it. But sometimes on clay court, the ball doesn't always bounce normally. You have to make sure your feet placement is good.
An unexpected opportunity for Sevastova.
Left. Second service.
We can see Sevastova is ready for that wide serve. It's almost before Kvitova hits her the point of impact. She's going that way.
There's a chance there.
I think it's a big mistake. She feels it's a big mistake. The Latvian, she has to make those shots.
And that is the big difference, isn't it? It's what we're talking about. I mean, we're talking about Sevastova, who's, you know, world number 13, very, very good player. But Kvitova probably would have taken that chance. The other way round, if she'd had that break point, she certainly would have come closer to winning it.
Yeah.
And there we go, an ace to finish.
That's what we were saying, at 2-all in that second set. It's important for Sevastova because Kvitova is number 3 in the world. They take those little opportunity, and she's sizing it at the minute. Playing much better in that second set. We're going to see, yeah, 12 winners was the total opposite in that first set. And also serving much better, which helps her with her game style. 3 aces. But yeah, Sevastova only 4 on 4 errors, but I feel Kvitova really took control of that match in the middle of that second set.
You mentioned it already, but that point where it was 2-all in the second set, Kvitova went 40-15 up. Sevastova got it back to deuce, and you think maybe this is her chance, and then she didn't win another point, and the set was over.
We're talking about how calm the Czech is, and it still is. It makes a difference in those moments. Thinking, okay, it's really important, but
just outstanding.
Well, being calm, so it makes your mind calmer, obviously, but also your body responds better with the nerves, and if you get tight a little bit. If you have a calm mindset, then your body responds better. I remember when I was playing, the first thing when you get tight is your legs get a bit tight and your upper body. So it's kind of a, so if your mind is calmer, then it really makes a big difference.
It's a good hold. And we should say as well that Sevastova's reacted pretty well to losing that second set. Stayed pretty calm. It's not easy to, especially the way that second set just got away from her so quickly. It was a matter of minutes, really. She's come out fighting in this third set. She still thinks she can do the job here. Got that break point as well in the first game of this third set. Some signs of encouragement. And that winner count just keeps rising now from Kvitova. It's almost like watching a different player from the player we saw in certainly the first 4 games, where she was struggling to find the court. And she was missing by miles. And now she looks unplayable. Everything is working out, everything's coming off.
Importance of her first serve again. Gets control as soon as she can of the point.
Field signal 14 left.
And another love service game from Petra Kvitova. And it's all going to plan at the moment for the number 3 seed. 2-1 lead in this final set.
2 games to 1. No, 15 love.
When I say when you have a first serve like this, like Sevastova did, and Kvitova return, you have to be ready in your footwork. She got a bit rush on that last point, the Latvian, especially when a returner like Kvitova. Just have to make sure you're ready straight after your serve.
Great placement. Right on the line.
30-15.
Did well to stay in the point initially.
She's fighting well on her service game, the Latvian. Trying to stop that momentum lead.
First double fault of the match for Sevastova. Another test here.
We can just see with her reaction, she knows. You can let yourself down in a way. You have to make sure you build your point, keep that quality. You have a former number 2 in the world in front of you.
Look at the reaction from Kvitova.
Fault time, Kvitova.
But I much prefer to see Sevastova hitting 8, 9, 10 shots and try, you know, that even though it was not maybe the best option, do something different than making an unforced error too early in the point. Just have to make your opponent play.
And there it is, just like that. The third set starts to get away from Sevastova. It is a break.
3 games.
So the world number 3 takes a 3-1 lead in this final set of the quarterfinal.
Breaking the Latvian and now serving. Sevastova is a dangerous place at the moment. That last game was crucial for her to stay in that match. Not sure if she's going to be able to.
14.
It's going to take a huge effort from here. A lot of self-belief, a little bit of good luck maybe. What would she give for the Kvitova from the first 4 games to come back? Seems unlikely.
Well, we know Kvitova, when she plays well, it's in like one direction. And since that game, in that second set, 2-all, it's been quite unstoppable.
Fault.
Been talking about how calm she is throughout the match, Kvitova, but also we've seen a bit more reaction, positive after important points. There's a good run forward from Sevastova here. Obviously quite comfortable with her footwork on this surface. It's a bit far from that net. Kvitova could have been a bit quicker to go into the net. When you decide to go to the net, it's either you go for it or you stay back, but just quite stuck in the middle in that last point.
Field save 14. 40-15.
And the unforced error count for Sevastova is still pretty low, but she's not playing as well in this third set. Kvitova is just flying at the moment. She looks unstoppable. She's still 2 games away, but she's very much in control here. 4-1 up in the deciding set.
4 games to 1.
Sevastova needs to find some inspiration here. Goes without saying, this is a must hold.
Continuo. 15 love.
We know Sevastova can do a lot of variation in her game.
30 love.
Using a bit more slice. And there, drop shot just to destabilize Kvitova. It's not a bad thing. Especially if you feel your opponent's putting a lot of pressure on you and she's getting more comfortable with the pace and the rhythm. Throwing a change of rhythm with a slice. It's always a good option.
Just an effortless return.
40-15.
10 winners, 2 unforced errors from Kvitova in this third set. That was out.
Can you see it? This one.
Second set.
Well, that's a good hold.
That's what I like in this game from Sevastova. She kept fighting. Put a few more balls in the court. Just have to make your opponent play. It's simple, but you know, if you start giving points away, that's when, you know, momentum shifts. And since that second set, it really happened for the Czech. But this game, quite important from the Latvian.
Is it a case of Sevastova now trying something a bit different? Maybe, I mean, there's maybe not so much she can do. She hasn't done a lot wrong today. But does she maybe try something different?
Well, I think a few more slices, maybe a high ball, just to take away the rhythm that Kvitova has at the moment. And also, we said that last point, try to make Kvitova with a bit more angle. We could see in that last point, it was not an easy shot for the Czech. But sometimes Kvitova does such a good serve.
Super point from Sevastova. She will give it everything to try and turn this match around.
15-13.
You can see she has great hands, quite comfortable at the net, Sevastova. But what I like, she's putting those return in the court, even though they're really tough. Little chip. Much prefer to see that than unforced errors. And next point, you really have to fight every point and give yourself the best chances.
Well, there we go. 2 break points.
15-14.
This might be her moment. She may not get too many more opportunities to get back in this set.
close to the net with that swing volley. Kvitova. Bit of a slide. Make sure she's not touching it.
30-14. 30-14. Please at the back of the court that way. If you're using a flash, please make sure it is now switched off. No flashes, please. Thank you so much.
Second break point. She's done it. She breaks back. This is not over just yet. What a response from the Latvian. Gets herself back on serve with that break. It's now 4-3.
Field tie, 4-3. Time.
Well, huge credit to Sevastova for taking that opportunity. But she might just have to cope with a response now from Petra Kvitova.
I was going to say, it's quite a response.
15.
Fighting quite well at the minute. Sevastova was saying maybe a bit more variation. You can see that slice made really Kvitova uncomfortable in that last point. So low.
Fabulous shot.
Not enough on that second serve, quite high, and it's not the first time she does it in this match. It's really in the striking zone from the return from Kvitova, one of the best return on the tour, so really have to be careful.
It's just too good, and there's that reaction again. A roar from Kvitova.
That's what we like to see. You start your match quite slow and you get back into it and you get those positive vibes. And yes, that reaction means a lot. She is fighting.
And just like that, Petra Kvitova is back in control. Takes away the hope that Sevastova had.
5 games to 3.
That was Sevastova's second unforced error in this set. It's tough on the Latvian. Against most players, this performance would have been good enough for a win. She's on the brink of being knocked out here. Kvitova serving for the match. Missed. Just.
Love 15. By them. 15.
Oh, she wants to give herself a much better chance here. Sevastova has to cut those unforced errors. Put that return back in a big target. Don't have to go for too much. Hear about how Kvitova was calm during that match and got those nice positive vibes and reaction in that last set. Sevastova on the other side, a bit more agitated.
And we always felt that Sevastova wasn't going to get another chance to break. Did well to get back on serve in this third set, but Kvitova wasn't going to let her get away with it this time, and now she does have 2 match points. Well, it was a slow start, but Petra Kvitova has blasted her way into the semi-finals of Stuttgart. A really high-quality quarter-final to kick things off today. Terrific performance from both players, but the world number 3 showing her quality and coming back from 4-love down and from losing the first set to win in 3 in a little more than an hour and a half. 2-6, 6-2, 6-3 for the third seed, and Petra Kvitova is the first player into the Stuttgart semi-finals.
Such an impressive comeback from Kvitova after losing that first set. Really out of focus, and reading that second set, everything changed. It was really aggressive. She cut the unforced errors, and she was the one who was dominating and dictating the points. But great fight from Sevastova. A good positive thing to take on in that match for sure, but the calmness and the experience from Kvitova made a big difference in that match.
Yeah, terrific win for Petra Kvitova. Did look as though she was in a bit of trouble in the early stages, but by the end she was back to her very, very best, and we can hear from her now.
Petra. That was almost like we had 2 matches, the first set and the next 2. What were you able to execute after the first set that was missing in the beginning?
Well, I think that in the first set I missed almost everything. I didn't really start pretty well. I was pretty slow. I didn't feel the ball at all, and she just couldn't miss. So it was pretty on one side, and I was pretty happy to make my first game in 4-1. And you know, in the second I started with my serve, I won that game, and I think it was very important for me to stay on my serve, and the chance to break her in the second came, and of course in the third one was pretty difficult in the end of the set, and I'm really glad that I was able to make it.
You're obviously a very aggressive tennis player. This is a surface usually where you need a little bit more patience, but do you think that you can impose your hardcore game on this surface?
I think so, yeah. Of course the movement is a bit different here, but overall we are playing indoors, so I think I can use something from the hard courts, but you know,